Stuck in traffic jam trouble, Emil and his dad argued. Emil was in big trouble for making them late. He got so mad at his dad's yelling, he jumped out of the car. Dad chased after him, worried sick. Suddenly, a crazy scene unfolded. An ambulance started shaking wildly, with a loud, scary scream coming from inside. Pop! The windows shattered, and out leaped a half-bird, half-man monster. It landed on a car with a screech. Security guys ran at it, but the monster fought back with roars, scaring everyone around. The monster tossed the guys aside and bolted. Later, Emil and his dad were at the hospital. They were there for Emil's mom, who was sick and changing into an animal too. It turned out many people were getting sick like that, turning wild and scary. The grown-ups were trying to catch them all and put them in special places to figure out a cure. Everyone was scared and wanted the mutants locked away. Emil didn't want to see his mom. She'd accidentally scratched him before, and he was scared. But his dad said she was still family. The doctor told them about a new, better place for sick people like Emil's mom. Dad agreed right away. He even wanted to move there with Emil for a fresh start, away from people who knew about his mom. In her room, Emil saw scratches all over the walls and stayed far away. His dad sat with her, talking even though Emil thought she couldn't understand. Weeks later, they moved to a new house by the forest with their dog. School started, and when the teacher introduced Emil, a girl named Nina wouldn't stop asking questions. Emil lied and said his mom was dead, then made up a story about his scar being from lightning. That night, a huge storm raged. The power went out, and scared by the wind and lightning, Emil peeked out the window. He saw a creepy creature staring in, but when the lights flickered back on, the creature vanished. The next day, there was a big emergency. An ambulance carrying sick people crashed in the lake during the storm. When Emil saw a policeman pulling out a monster's body, his dad looked terrified. It was the ambulance carrying the mutants, and now half were dead, with the rest on the loose. The tension mounts as the cops struggle to restrain a frantic François, who desperately calls out for his missing wife. Officer Julia offers reassurance, saying Lana's body hasn't been found, suggesting she might be somewhere in the mysterious forest. Returning home, François takes an unusual approach, hanging clothes on trees around the house, hoping their scent might lead Lana back to them. The following day, during class, Emil finds himself in an unexpected position. While playing tug-of-war, his entire team collapses except for him. Surprisingly, he single-handedly holds on long enough for his teammates to rally and secure victory. Impressed by his unexpected strength, his peers invite him to a party. But Emil's mind is elsewhere. He rushes home, consumed by a troubling discovery. Using tweezers, he extracts something from beneath his nails, only to find small claws emerging. Shocked, he inspects his changing body in the mirror, witnessing the transformation firsthand. Overwhelmed by anger and shame, he vents his frustrations by tossing objects around the bathroom before seeking solace in the tub, accompanied by his loyal dog. Meanwhile, François encounters Julia, who delivers unsettling news. They've halted the search for Lana, relying on the government's promise of military assistance. Suddenly, chaos erupts as screams pierce the air. The sight of a mutant sends shoppers into a frenzy. Julia springs into action, evacuating the mall, while François, still hopeful, searches for Lana among the chaos. To his surprise, the mutant causing the commotion is merely a squid-like creature, hungry for fish. Despite her attempts to flee, Julia, a seasoned officer, apprehends her with ease. In the aftermath, François stumbles upon another frightened mutant but chooses to keep this encounter secret. As days pass, Emil tries to blend in at a party, but a moment of illness reveals his worsening condition. Unable to control his actions, he inadvertently embarrasses himself, prompting a hasty retreat into the forest, where mysterious sounds hint at the presence of others like him. The next morning, near the tranquil lake, Emil's solitude is disrupted by the roar of a passing motorboat, signaling further twists in his unfolding tale. Emil wakes up with a nasty taste in his mouth and heads home, only to see scary mutant warnings spray painted on the walls. Back home, a dash to the bathroom ends with him spewing up a feather. No wonder dinner tasted a little off last night. Ignoring police warnings, Emil and his dad head deep into the woods searching for his mom. Emil asks his dad how he felt when his mom started changing, and his dad assures him he wasn't scared. She's still his mom, just a bit different now. Night falls, and their search continues by car. They blast his mom's favorite tunes, hoping she can hear them. They end up sleeping in the car, and in the morning, Emil notices his fingernails morphing again. Oh! Suddenly, their dog bolts. Emil chases after it and finds a strange kid who can change colors like a chameleon, perched on a tree. Before he can process the weirdness, the Birdman from before attacks Emil. He gets pummeled with wings and scratched, but the Birdman freezes when he sees Emil's changing body. Emil screams, bring his dad running. They grab Emil and escape in the car. Dad wants to go to the hospital, but Emil freaks they'll find out his secret. They almost crash into a horse, but Dad slams on the brakes just in time. Turns out, they're at a riding school where cops are looking for a mutant who attacked the horses. Dad sees his chance and asks the police for a favor. A kind nurse stitches Emil up, believing the story about a dog bite. Phew. Back home, Emil pulls out some stitches and starts licking his wound. Gross. At school, Emil sees a necklace Nina's wearing with a feather just like the one he threw up. Later in science class, the squeaking ferrets drive Emil crazy, and he yells at them to shut up. After class, Emil struggles to ride his bike because of his changing body. Nina tries to be a good friend and even invites him over. But things get weird again when Emil finds a dead bird in the fridge. Nina explains she found it outside his house and took a feather for her necklace. Another close call. Emil realizes he didn't eat the feather, he left it for Nina as a weird present. She's keeping it to help other mutants by donating it as food. Feeling more connected to his mutant side, Emil jumps in the lake and catches a fish with his bare hands. A neighbor sees this, but whoops. Meanwhile, Emil stumbles upon the Birdman again. This guy, who calls himself Fix because he forgot his real name, keeps trying to fly but keeps crashing. Feeling bad, Emil leaves the fish for Fix and learns about his struggles. Emil notices Fix is all scratched up from his failed flying attempts. So, the clever Emil suggests a safer spot to practice the lake. They clear out some branches so Fix won't get hurt anymore, and Fix agrees to give it a shot. Back home, Emil tries to bike back, but keeps falling. Deciding to ditch the bike, he tells his dad it got stolen. Not cool, Emil. Meanwhile, at the bar where François works, the owner made some nasty anti-mutant shirts, which makes François super uncomfortable. Taking out the trash, François hears noises in the back and gets grabbed by a chain mutant. He calms the scared creature down, only to see another mutant running away. Just then, a coworker appears and pushes the creature back with an oar. Turns out, it's her mutant relative she's been hiding at work. Together, they try to get the creature back into hiding, but it freaks and runs inside the bar, causing a panic. Believing the other mutant could be Lana, François rushes to the forest and finds his wife, in full bear form. She lets out a roar before disappearing. Back at school, during lunch, Emil feels something funny in his mouth and spits out a tooth. Gross. He pretends it's a baby tooth to avoid freaking everyone out. Later, he visits Fix, who's still having trouble flying. Practice makes perfect. Fix. When Fix takes a break, Emil checks on his wounds and takes off the bandage on his face. Yikes. The doctors did a terrible job removing Fix's growing beak. Meanwhile, Julia joins François to search for Lana in the forest. They have to hide every time they see a police car. They don't find Lana, but François is shocked to discover Emil's abandoned bike. Back home, François notices the bathroom sink is clogged. He takes the pipes apart to fix it and finds a bunch of hair and claws. Now he finally realizes Emil is changing too. When Emil comes home, François confronts him with the claws and the bike, but Emil denies everything. Oh, looks like Emil's in trouble. Emil tries to sneak back home, but his dad locked the doors. Emil runs away, but his worried dad chases after him and hugs him real tight. The next morning, Emil eats like a wild animal, but his dad is okay with it. Dad even gives him some special medicine to help him control his urges in school. He checks Emil's mouth and says his new fangs are hidden in the back for now. Dad gives Emil a bunch of new tricks to hide his mutations, cutting his nails, stuffing cotton in his ears, and using hair removal cream. Later, Emil calls Nina. He asks her to scream, and super hearing lets him hear her from way far away. The next day, Emil visits Fix and discovers he can't talk anymore, just chirp like a bird. But a hug makes everything better. Fix climbs a tree and leaps, finally flying for the first time. Soaring through the sky makes Fix super happy. Emil finds his dad working at a festival, but things turn bad fast. They argue and end up fighting. In the heat of the moment, Emil bites his dad, but stops when Dad threatens him. Confused and upset, Emil stumbles upon Nina. They share a kiss in a cornfield, and things get a little steamy. Nina sees his mutations, but doesn't care and keeps going. Back at the festival, a classmate corners Emil in the bathroom. The jerk uses a machine that makes loud animal noises, hurting Emil's ears. Scared and angry, Emil scratches the boy's face and runs away. The boy tells everyone, and the hunt is on. People grab weapons and call the police. Emil hides in a field, but a dog finds him. He scares it away with a bark, but the sound attracts two hunters who shoot at him. Fix swoops in and shoves the guy away, using his sharp claws to kill him bad. Then Fix flies off into the woods, and Emil follows after him. But a police car comes after them too. Emil crosses a lake to try and stop the police, but they get mad and shoot at them, hitting Fix. Emil runs to Fix, crying as his friend dies in his arms. A bit later, François and some hunters find Fix's body but don't see Emil. Meanwhile, in town, a big mutant sneaks around while army trucks head to the forest. The next day, Emil hides in the forest and eats fruit he finds. When night comes, he climbs a tree and howls with the other animals. The next night, a storm hits, and Emil hides in a cave. He gets scared when a bear comes near, but then he realizes it's his mom. They touch heads to show they love each other. Then his mom leaves, wanting him to follow. Emil does and finds lots of mutants living together peacefully, including the chameleon girl. Suddenly, flares shoot into the sky, showing the army found them. Emil and the mutants try to hide, but the soldiers use a painful sound that makes them drop to the ground. The only one who escapes is the chameleon girl, who hides using her camouflage. Later, at the police station, François helps Emil say he was drunk and got lost in the forest by accident. But when Emil tries to sign some papers, his hand won't work and breaks the paper. François pushes the cops so he can't call for help and seals the papers himself. They leave town in a car, with the police chasing them. François promises they won't go to any bad places and drives fast through a fence to get back to the forest, and yells at Emil to make a run for it. Emil takes off like a furry rocket, howling with joy at his newfound freedom.